All right, thank you for staying with Kenya's Choice 2022. Listen, at exactly 9 a.m., we'll cross over to the Supreme Court to hear the final submissions, then we'll be there live. But for now, let's talk about the MCA's mandate and their role. Some people have said that they are the county councils reincarnate, pretty much because of their behavior. We'll find out from them what they think in terms of representation of the people as well, and also allegations of them holding governors at ransom. Joining us now is Honorable Judy Oyugi. She's the former MCA East Assembly in Rarieda, also the former Deputy Majority Leader in Siaya County. She's joining us online. Thank you so much for making time. Honorable Gadeye Wanjeri is also here, MCA-elect for Gaturi Ward, that's in Kiharu. Thank you so much for making time. Conrad Bosire is also here, devolution and governance expert. Ekodida is yet to come in, MCA-elect Mathare North. As soon as he comes in, we'll drop him into the discussion. But Honorable Yugi, let me start with you in Rarieda there. How has the experience been like, being an MCA?
Good morning, Trevor, and thank you very much. The experience has been very humbling and very interesting, and I'm very happy to have gone through it, both in the House, in the Assembly, and also in the ward during the campaign trail. So I would say it's a very humbling experience.
How was the campaign trail for you, Honorable Yugi? What did you go through? What were your experiences there, being a lady in a campaign trail of the MCAs? There's some people who say that sometimes it even got to be a bit violent.
That is very true. As a lady and as a widow, it's been a very tough journey. The campaigning itself is very grueling. Going door to door, doing campaigns, going up and down, it's very tough. And in terms of the experience of being abused, that has been very, women are not taken as leaders from experience and from time immemorial. We've been looked down upon for a very long time. So we've had a lot of challenges. It's true we've been abused on the campaign trail. It's true your life has been put out there negatively mostly. The positive side is not really highlighted, but the negative side is really worked upon. And as a woman, most of the opponents are male. So they will bring out the negative side of you. You will be abused. There will be violence. There'll be a lot of challenges, which I experienced during the campaign.
Yeah, having been the only lady elected in Rarieda as an MCA, was that an advantage or a disadvantage during your time?
I would not say it's a disadvantage. It's it's something that is not common. There was a lady once before as a councillor, but as an MCA, I was the only lady in Rarieda. It's a very interesting and good experience because you get to be a trailblazer, you get to be a mentor to the other ladies, and generally you are looked up upon to see what a woman can do in politics, generally. So it's a good experience. But
there are also those who say you are vastly outnumbered by your male counterparts.
You are outnumbered, but that does not mean that you don't put across your agenda or you don't perform as a lady. True, you might be outnumbered, but that gives you an opportunity also to work harder, to put across the woman agenda. As you know, most of the positions are held by men. So rarely will you find a man coming in and putting across the woman agenda, as it were. But as a woman, that would be a priority. This is an opportunity to bring across the women issue, the girl child issue, and such kind of agenda.
Okay, I'll come back to you in just a bit, but let me bring in Honorable Gadeye Wanjeri here. How was your experience on the campaign trail?
Us, I appreciate for the time, and also thank God for giving us this platform and people from my area, Gaturi, and the whole Kenya. It has not been easy. Having in mind that is my first time, and then I'm among the youngest people in the County Assembly of Murang'a. It has been very hard for us because one, we had to create an image that we are leaders. The other side of me, I've come from music, Gina. I do music, Gina, called Mogidi. There's a Kikuyu music. So now to present yourself in a different way to people so that they can now believe in what you can say, what you can do. Now it was not easy. But by grace of God and support from different people, and then selling our agendas and knowledge of our area, that's how we are able to make it. So we say everything is God, nothing more.
But what made you move from music?
I've not moved from music. I'm still in music.
Still doing both?
Yes, I'm still doing both.
How will you balance those two? Because now people are trying to
it is
see whether you're a leader or an artist. Which one?
No. It's very easy because I believe even you, what you're doing there, you still have something else you do part-time.
Maybe not.
Maybe yes. I don't mean necessarily you, but someone else. So music is just part-time. It doesn't affect. And where the type of music we do on weekends.
Yeah.
So that's out of office duty. And we have seen other people who are still doing music and still they are pursuing their course and careers. So I told my people what I can do to them. They believe in me, and we are still in good course of move.
But where did you draw the inspiration from? Because most people are wondering, okay, so from music to MCA leadership, yeah. Why even MCA? Why didn't you go for Member of Parliament? Why didn't you go for Senate? Why did you choose MCA specifically? What attracted you to that position?
Because of bottom-up strategy. You know, it is easy to start from low, yeah, and starting from high, because in my area, also, you know, sometimes when you're in politics, you have to do your calculation and strategy. My Member of Parliament is called Didi Nyoro.
Yes.
Didi Nyoro is not easy game. So you just wake up one day and you go start competing with an MP. My brother can tell you that is not easy.
So you didn't want to go head-to-head with Didi Nyoro?
I didn't want to do that.
Okay.
I didn't. But now I start somewhere so that even my people, it will be easy for me next time if maybe I think of cribbing rather. Yeah. And I also believe that the problem which are there in the world is easy to solve. Yeah. Depending where I've come from, I've grown in the village, I've schooled in the village, in a day school and everything else. So it's easy for me to start from there rather than dashing up, which is very fast, yeah.
Conrad, has the role of the MCA been vastly downplayed or even misunderstood from where you come from? Because there's also this perception that it's the lowest cadre where you're supposed to start.
Okay. Thank you, Trevor. I think, first of all, let me congratulate my fellow panelists on capturing the seat of the MCA. But straight to your question, Trevor, I think we should start from the Constitution, because that is the one which states the significance of devolution and the role that the MCA plays. So in terms of the law, in terms of the Constitution, in terms of what Kenyans chose as a system of governance, the MCA actually occupies a very important position because we chose to devolve power to the lowest level, the community level, and the lowest unit of representation, and not lowest in terms of caliber or hierarchy, but in terms of which level is closest to Mwananchi is the MCA. And then you look at the roles of the MCA, they are basically a carbon copy of what the MPs do at the national level. They make laws. They don't make bylaws like we used to have the kanjos, the local authorities. They actually make law. And if you look at the Constitution, there are some instances where the laws passed by county assemblies actually trump national legislation. Yeah. They represent the people at the county, at the ward level in county affairs. They make budget, and they carry out oversight. So those are four very important roles. And for me, being a devolution expert, I know that the lowest level and the level closest to the communities, vis-a-vis what devolution is supposed to achieve, the MCA actually plays an important role, which should be enhanced. So in terms of practice, of course, there are many challenges for every other institution, including the county assembly, in terms of effective oversight, the capacity to oversight county governments. There are challenges. We started from zero, but we are somewhere. In terms of budget making, we have seen conflicts between the two organs of government. At the county level, we have seen interventions from the Commission on Revenue Allocation, the control of budget, and even courts to ensure that there is a proper budget making. We have seen capacity development. Not all counties are at the same level. Some are ahead in terms of lawmaking, capacity for lawmaking and legislative development and all that. So for me, despite the challenges, actually, if you look at the Constitution, what we designed as devolution and the role that an MCA should play is actually the most important in all this setup, given that they represent communities, they represent people at the level that is closest to Mwananchi.
Yeah. Honorable Yugi, let me bring you back into this conversation. In your view, having been the former deputy majority leader in Siaya County as well, what has been the greatest challenge when it comes to effective oversight?
Thank you, Trevor. The biggest challenge has been, first of all, you have to understand the role of devolution in the counties. For you to wade through the challenges, which are many, because devolution came in, most of us didn't understand what devolution is. So you have to understand Chapter 11 of the Constitution. Once you understand Chapter 11 of the Constitution, then understand your role as an MCA. Then you'll be able to go through most of the challenges. The biggest challenge that I encountered in the assembly would be to make the people on the ground understand what your mandate entails and up to what level you're able to execute that mandate. You know, as the first contact person on the ground with the Mwananchi, they expect you to do miracles, to change everything as an MCA. But we have a difference of the national government, you have a difference of the county government. So it's a very big challenge. It was and it still is to be able to ensure that the Mwananchi understand your role and where your mandate starts and where your mandate ends. So once you're able to put this across to them, then your work becomes much easier. You're able to execute your three major roles of representation, oversight, and legislation as an MCA. So I would say that is the biggest challenge.
But what about some people say that MCAs are held captive by the governors. Is that true from where you stand? Or are you the ones who hold the governors captive?
I think it's a two-way role. You have to work together with the governor to ensure that you are able to deliver to the Mwananchi. Either of them can hold the other captive, but whoever holds the other one captive, even them themselves, they will not be able to do their role effectively because you work together, right? Your roles complement each other. You are the two roles of the two arms of the government. So ideally, you should work together to ensure that the Mwananchi gets what they're supposed to get on the ground. But in a situation where one side decides not to work together with the other side, that's when you see all these wrangles in the assembly. That's when you see there's nothing coming to the ground, there's no development happening. So it is possible, you can hold each other captive, but it's to the detriment of the common Mwananchi.
But Oyugi, what does working together mean? Because there are those who claim that MCAs sometimes hold governors ransom by demanding money before they even pass a simple budget.
I have heard so also. However, clearly, that is not the right thing to do. It might happen, right, for selfish reasons, clearly, but for you to get things to be done, if we are following professional way of doing things, really, you don't have to hold anyone captive. You don't have to put conditions and whatever in place for things to happen. We have clearly stipulated way of working. You have the Constitution, you have the County Government Act. You know how things are supposed to happen. If, for example, at a particular time, you're supposed to vet officials who are supposed to come in and do their job. Those are in terms of CECs and CO. You're supposed to look at the budget. You're supposed to pass it in a particular way and at a particular time. So if we are doing our job correctly, then there shouldn't be a situation where someone is held a ransom.
Okay, let me bring back Conrad on this. Conrad, what has been the greatest challenge when it comes to effective oversight? And you're the one who brought it up. In your view, having dealt with devolution all this time, where does the challenge lie?
Thank you, Trevor. That's a very good question. First of all, to the issue that you've just posed to the former MCA. My observation is that when you have peaceful counties where there is no apparent quarreling or a problem, it should raise a question. There are two possible scenarios. One, maybe the MCAs wamenyamazishwa, either through incentive or through other means. Or the most desirable one is that they are working cohesively towards an issue. But the main issue regarding oversight is capacity, because for you to do an effective oversight, you have to understand the technical budget making process. As an MCA who represents the county assembly that represents the collective views of the people, you have to audit the budget documents, you have to audit the policy documents, you have to look at reports from the Auditor General regarding the past years and financial expenditure. And sometimes one of the challenges which has been identified is that these documents are very complex, high level, and breaking them down in order to have an effective oversight at the county assembly requires some training, some understanding, some experience on technical public financial matters. That has been the challenge. Actually, there have been discussions among the agencies to have a broken down version of audit reports so that the county assemblies can actually carry out effective oversight and to have what is practical for the MCAs to oversight over. So the first challenge has actually been the capacity. The next challenge has been what we've been discussing, where the priorities are actually not the priorities of the people. Then you find a way of weakening oversight, which is not desirable. So I can mention those two as the main challenges that have faced oversight at the county level. And then, of course, generally understanding how a government works, and not just a government, but a government that has a specific role at the county level, and what is its context in terms of the broader governance challenges. The other thing, before I forget, is that, and this has been mentioned as a big challenge, I would love to hear my fellow panelist also what he says about this, is take, for instance, the health sector. You find every MCA wants to have a dispensary in his or her ward, you know? And the resources are limited. And you want to have a county referral hospital that can attend to cancer patients, that can deal with complex health issues, and that requires some financial investments to have a modern county hospital. But then sometimes MCAs want to spread this thin. And I understand it's because of the push from communities to have, to be seen to have put something at the village level, but there has to be a balance between critical provision of health services at the county level vis-a-vis what we call primary health care on the ground. And sometimes that gets lost because MCAs fight for wards, understandably.
Yeah, but 10 years into devolution, Conrad, why do we still have capacity issues then? Is this a reflection of the people's choices? Or is it just people not being inspired enough to build capacity? Because, for example, Gadeo Wanjeri here, when he's heading to the county assembly, already knows what is expected of him, that there's going to pass the budgets, they're going to look at the audit reports, there's the CIDP, the County Integrated Development Plan, and the ADP, the Annual Development Plan. 10 years into devolution, why do we still have capacity problems?
Well, first of all, I would understand. It is public finance documents, the process of preparation, the content in there requires experts to prepare those. And I think it requires a same level of expertise to look at the documents, identify issues, and all that. And also don't forget that Kenyans have a trend of replacing elected representatives at a very high level. So 5 years of experience with these things are lost at the ballot, maybe because of various factors. So you get in a new set of representatives who have now to go again through the motions to understand this. The other thing I can tell you is that while we talk about capacity building in the government, we are not very big on facilitating capacity development in terms of resources and retaining and recruiting adequate expertise. And even the organization of the mandate is not very clear. Of course, the national government has that, but you have various players doing so in a sort of not coordinated manner, and the overall effectiveness sometimes is tricky. Some of the practical challenges is that you require resources. You've had people complain that you have to have MPs in Mombasa for them to attend the meeting. And if you call at the local town, you'll have the town hall empty or something like that. So they are all factors which contribute to this. But I think key among them is because of the complexity of the processes. But I agree with you. Yeah. If we have our institutional arrangements right, we can do it well. And we are not yet at our best in terms of organizing capacity development, not just at the county assemblies level, but even at the national level.
Yeah, Gade, how do we build capacity for members of county assembly like yourself?
Thank you, Trevor, for the question. Maybe I can first respond to the concern it's about. So I still think that devolution has taken time to get into the place they first saw it could be, because you see that there are even conflict of interest in the three, maybe from the national government, the county government, in terms of maybe even the roads and other factors. But I think with time, it shall come to it. Then also the issue of a new member of county assembly being elected every time before they run, before everything take course, and also the pressure we are having from the crowd. You have said that sometimes an MCA will come and force things because of the pressure we are having. Yes, because when we are there campaigning, we promise people a lot of things. And also, like my honorable member said there, they expect a lot from us. A lot. So that's why maybe it takes us a lot of time and conflict when we are trying to deliver what we promised our people. So what I would think about the issue of capacity is that still when they are trying to introduce the process of the devolution, they should think of maybe the issues, to prioritize some issues concerning the whole process, because taking a lot of things at the same time, maybe that's how it limits the capacity.
Yeah, but what kind of demands do the people make over you? Do they understand your roles from the ground? Ama kwa ground bora weni mheshimiwa, kuna lazima ulete kitu.
Yeah, you know what? The first rule when you are looking for a seat is that whatever comes to you, you just say yes. Because now, you know, it will be bad if you tell someone that I cannot do that. So, for example, in our case, my friend, we could go there and start campaigning, and then it's a very rural area. There's no even electricity. But now people will come and tell you, now we are young people, and you know, we want to create employment. What you can do, Mheshimiwa, bring Wi-Fi. You know, the next thing you can say, it is, we are going to do that. Because you are looking for a vote, but now explaining these people, explaining your role to them, it may take a lot of time. So they expect so much from an MCA, and they don't know the boundaries between what you're supposed to do and what a national government should do. But we are trying to look for an issue whereby we can try to come together as leaders, between from governor, the member of National Assembly and the County Assembly, so that we can try to deliver as a package.
Yeah. Yes. Having been on the ground yourself, do the people take time to even read what your agenda is so that they understand and hold it to account and say, Gade Wanjeri, you said this in your manifesto or in your agenda and you haven't done it? Do they take their time, or for them it's just the quick wins? Leta kitu saizi, fanya hivi na vile?
What I believe that our voters have changed a lot.
Yeah.
Because in our case, or for example, in my case, I was able to go through and I was an independent candidate. And then from a region where UDA was so dominant. So meaning they could look at various issues which maybe they took into account to trust in what I'm telling them. That is, they have started seeing people and listening to our agendas more than the handouts which are coming out, more than maybe the shows which people are making. So people are changing a lot. That's why you're seeing that even the whole country, there are a lot of surprises concerning elections because they are taking into account and they are remembering that you promised this and this and this.
Yeah.
Then the problems in the village are a good picture, because every time when you wake up and see that the road is impassable, you still remember that Mheshimiwa promised me this. So they are taking into account and they are very, very, very accurate on that.
Okay, let me bring in Honorable Yugi on this. Honorable Yugi, you know, in any job that you get, there's always some level of capacity building. Having been a deputy majority leader yourself, is there any time when the county assemblies go for a retreat that has nothing to do with the budget, but has everything to do with the capacity building? This is how a CIDP looks like. This is how an audit report looks like. This is how you should pass a budget. This is how to look for the loopholes in the budget. Does that happen? Because even right now, I know there are some MCAs in Mombasa. The ones from Nairobi are in Mombasa right now, but it's all about trying to elect their leaders.
Thank you, Trevor. The issue of capacity is very important, because when you come in as an MCA, perhaps, okay, some might know what they're expected to do, but not very clearly. The issue of training and going to Mombasa, and ideally, most of the time, the training you get immediately when you come in is on your role as an MCA, of what is expected of you once you come to the house. As you clearly stated, we have all these documents that you're supposed to go through and approve. The CIDP, the ADP, all these things need you to have a very clear understanding of how the county government works, of how the national government works. So capacity building is extremely important. A candidate, when they are coming in, it is very important that they know, what am I coming into? Or do I understand what this entails? Our laws currently are not very clear on the level of education that a leader should come in. For the governor, it's very clear you must have a degree. For the MCA, there's a very blurred line where you're not sure, because we choose people. You might get graduates, you might get people who are from candidates, you might get people who have not even reached a certain level of education. So it's very hard when you're going for this training for some of them to understand what we are being taught. So I think it's very important for us to have very clear laws that when you're coming in as a leader, this is the level of education that you're needed to have. And once you come in, what are the trainings? It is true, once we come in, there are trainings that you're taken to, but are we able to absorb and understand all this that you're taught? It happens initially, but what is important also is that it should be a continuous form of capacity building. Once you're taught at the beginning when you come in, is it continuous? Every year, do you come and review? Are you able to say that I understand what I'm supposed to do? And is it something that I am doing to the ground? So capacity is very important. Also, the electorate has to be informed that, you know, your MCA is going to do 1, 2, 3. So this is the level of person you're supposed to elect. So yes, Trevor, capacity is very important.
Yeah, speak to me about the budget making process. This is where the drama in county assemblies tend to begin. What have you experienced yourself, and how can it be made better?
All right. Budget making process is a process that begins, actually it's a process that is ongoing throughout the year. It actually begins with the Mwananchi when they're doing the public participation. Because when we make the budget, it is informed by what comes from the common Mwananchi on the ground. When we come to the ground and ask them, what exactly do you want to get, what do you want your leaders to do for you on the ground? Do you want ECDs? Do you want health centers? What do you want as a community to be done? Then this comes up to the assembly, and then we debate it. and we apportion part of the budget. Then there's the part of the executive that they also do their part and apportion depending on the different departments of the executive, whether it is roads, whether it is health, and all that. So once the budget comes into the assembly and we debate it and we approve it, then it goes back, of course, to the executive for implementation purposes. Then, of course, our oversight role now comes in. When they're implementing, are they implementing what the common mwananchi wanted? Is it to the standard that is supposed to be done? So it's not a one-off activity. Budget making is an ongoing activity that happens throughout the year.
Okay, I'd like to hear from both of you on this, and Honorable Yugi, I'll start with you on this issue. There are many people who say that the MCAs are just the city, county councils reincarnated.
Maybe to some extent. However, I think our role has been more enhanced and it has been brought up more clearly compared to the former councillors, because the former councillors had a very limited mandate compared to what we have currently. What we are doing as MCAs, as one of my colleagues has mentioned, is what is happening in the National Assembly. Yeah, but for the National Assembly, the MP is doing in the constituency level. Now, due to devolution, now we are doing it at a lower level, at the ward level. So it's more enhanced.
All right. Gade, what do you think when people say that the current MCAs are just the same as councillors?
No, I think no, they are not, because now the rulers for the current MCAs is well stipulated, and I think it's all blood, depending on the three, maybe the three, in a nutshell, the three function of legislation, oversight, and representation. So councillor even they did not have even a county assembly. So the same role the MP are taking, that they are also passing laws. So I think maybe it's not the right term to use.
Yeah. Yes. Being an independent candidate yourself and an MCA elect, how will you then work in a county assembly that is majority UDA?
One thing is that when you go to county assembly as an elected leader, the issue of political parties first is not a priority to even the governor himself, because what is there is you delivering to your people. So, for example, in my case in Managa County, Dr. Irobo Kangata, I've not seen any discrimination in terms of political party, in terms of majority, minority, or any disadvantaged group. So we are all equal. But when it comes to even passing the motion, by the way, not even about independent candidates, even when it comes to nominated MCA, the rules are maybe the same. So it is easy for me to work for my people, regardless of whether I'm independent or not, because the same role, the same capacity is also equivalent to the people who are elected with the majority party which is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Conrad, what do you think would be the best way to approach this difference from parties? Because they come from different political parties. He's independent, others are UDA, others are Zimio. How can they work together without seeming like someone has been absorbed into the opposing side?
Okay, thank you, Trevor. I think you raise an important question, not just at the county level, but even nationally, politically. And the main issue is that we do not have a strong and effective political party system in this country, to the extent that not just Kenyans like myself or you, Trevor, we do not see in practice what the different political formations stand for on public policy issues, on political party philosophy, on clear stances on issues. Political party manifestos are prepared around elections, and after elections, no one remembers what, including all the major political parties, what the party political positions were. So in that context, then political party dynamics play a very minimized role in terms of the functioning of whether it's parliament or county assemblies. The ideal position would be that you have a party position on policy, and this is based on consultation with your electorate, and it's what you push through in the legislatures. But that doesn't come through. So in my view, then, what we do in that context is, as MCAs or even as members of the National Assembly or senators, is to look objectively at the actions of the executive at the national and county level, and more importantly, look at adherence to the law, what it says, what can you spend money on, what can you not spend on, transparency and accountability in the use of resources. That should not be a party issue. That is an issue of the law and integrity. And politicians should actually take the respective executives to task whenever there's mismanagement of resources. And also when there's a mismatch between clear public priorities and what the executive is trying to do, then the county assembly, regardless of the party, should be able to do proper follow-up. But to go back to some of the issues that you'd mentioned, Trevor, the kind of expectations that the public has on politicians, it's actually the same issue why the CDF came into force in 2003, because once you are elected, people expect you to build roads, people expect you to build hospitals, to build schools, bursaries, and all that. Yet the law says that basically you have been sent to Parliament to pass laws, oversight, represent, make budget. But this has a history. Actually, the councillors whom we are saying do not have substantive tasks, they used to. During colonial period, after independence up to 1970, local authorities used to pay teachers' salaries in primary schools and secondary schools. They used to build roads, do hospitals, and basically what counties are doing now. But in 1969, we passed a law that passed all those functions to the national government and basically left Kanjos with garbage collection and market fees, you know, very few functions. And there's a report by Odongo Mamo which said at that time, even the expenditure was so controlled that even buying a bicycle for an office messenger, it required the Minister of Local Authorities to put a sign. So, you know, that transferred the function at the national level, and MPs now became, let me use the word, conduits for local development, where it was for the councillors. And that is how now MPs, so you see, we have nothing to do this. So to some extent, those who justify CDF say that we did this because you are basically elected and you go back to the constituency and people say, where are the roads? And you have no budget, so CDF. But in order to make, we are trying to reverse that process by having MCAs actually preside over substantial issues than after the 1970s, and it's a slow process. I think the public expectations, once we are consistent on that path and people gradually come to understand what are the roles, maybe then MPs and MCAs will then concentrate on what the law expects them to do. But in the meantime, it will be a very slow process of changing that philosophy.
Honorable Yugi, let me bring you back on this, and let's get a bit practical here. So, what did you set out to do as an MCA? What did you achieve, and what did you not achieve, and why?
Thank you, Trevor. When I came into the assembly as the MCA for East Assembly Ward, there had been an MCA who had been there, and he had been doing certain projects for the ward. So the first thing I did when I went in was to sit with the common mwananchi, sort of like a public participation, to know exactly what they expected me to do for them. So because this is a two-way thing. There's what I wanted to do, and there's what the common mwananchi expected me to do for them. Secondly, there was the issue of projects which were not finished. I had a lot of that in my ward. For example, in terms of education, we had 7 ECDs which were left pending. I mean, they were not finished. They were done halfway. So my first priority was to ensure that the projects that were done halfway by the previous MCA were completed. And I'm happy to say that I was able to complete all those projects that were done halfway. And then in addition to that, I was able to bring in now new projects, depending on the yearly planning and depending on the public participation, what the community wanted. I was able to bring in new projects that I must say we finished 80% of them. Of course, the major challenge was in terms of the allocated budget, the budget that comes to the county and the budget that comes down now to the ward is very limited. I must say that compared to the what do you say, the size of the ward, the amount that comes to the ward is so little, right? So I think it would be important to increase the amount that goes to the counties and therefore the amount that goes to the ward. For example, in my ward, we are getting an average of about 20 million to do the projects. To do an ECD takes about 4 million, one ECD. I have 27 schools that require ECDs. The expectation of the common mwananchi is that you're going to do all these things within your 5-year term, which clearly this is not possible. And therefore you find situation whereby once you've done what you're able to do, 5-year is finished, you come back to the mwananchi for a re-election. And I must say this also happened to me. They're like, you did not finish all these things. You should have finished all these things. But they will not understand that the budget is very limited. You're not able to do everything at once. So that is my experience, and that is what happened.
Yeah, and let me bring in Gadei here. What is your agenda?
One thing
in terms of enumerating just 1, 2, 3, this is what I want to do, 1, 2, 3, and how do you want to do that?
Yes, thank you. Having in mind that one of the roles is providing the linkage between the county assembly and the electorate in terms of public service delivery, is that we have some agenda like bad roads in my own area, whereby they're impassable when the rain comes. Then we still have a agenda of ECD. It's good that Oyugi is saying that there are some which were done in her region. In my own region, there is nothing. All of them are bad, they are terrible. And then there's still the agenda of the hospitals, whereby in my own area, in Murang'a County in general, if maybe I would say that there are no medicine or medications in any hospital. They are terrible in dispensaries and everywhere else, among even the water process and the electricity and the rest, because my own role is now the linkage between the county assembly and the public. So those are the 4 main causes. And then you also have others like creating employment to youths in terms of maybe the project which will be there. They are going to be the people working on them, among others.
Yeah, I'm posing you and Oyugi because Oyugi has been there before. You're going in for the first time.
Yes.
And Oyugi, when you hear this common term of creating employment for the youth, and you've been there yourself, is it practical and is it even possible? Because most of the time, when people start to ask you where the employment is, there seems to be no answer to that question. Is it possible from where you stand?
Creating employment per se is not possible, but that is the common term that everybody uses during campaigns. I'm going to get jobs for the youth. I'm going to ensure that people are employed. Clearly, if you state how you're going to do this, you'll find that it is not possible per se. However, the issue of economic empowerment for the youth is very possible. I did it in my ward, yeah? But you'd have to have also linkage with the national government, the Youth Enterprise Fund, the Women Enterprise Fund, to ensure that, first of all, the youth and the women are organized in groups. Once they are organized in groups, then you're able to link them up with the Enterprise Fund so that they get funding to do different activities. You have to clearly state to the mwananchi that you're not going to get them white-collar jobs. You're not going to get everyone employed in the county government. However, if you ensure that there's economic empowerment in various youth and women groups, then that would be a right step, because not everyone can get jobs and be employed. So that is the most important thing that I did in my ward, and I hope it is something that is going to continue to ensure that we reduce the poverty.
So this linkage that you're saying is, it means then that you're the one who connects them to the national government, which ideally they should be able to do even on their own, right? The Youth Enterprise Development Fund.
Yes, they should be able to do it on their own. But if you go to the ground, what is on the ground is totally different. They are not able to do it. The offices of these departments are normally based in the main center, which, for example, in Siaya County, it is in Siaya. You want these people on the ground, for example, in Rarieda and in Assembly. So it's up to you as a leader to link your people to these groups and to ensure that they actually come to the ground, do the training, and that you are able to do follow-up for them, that they are able to receive this funding.
Okay, Conrad, is it? Yeah, you want to jump into it?
Yes. First, there's something I want to challenge the incoming MC and maybe those listening.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand what Honorable Yugi is saying. 20 million in award in terms of development is basically very inadequate. But, you know, don't try to do overall ward development with, for instance, a ward development fund. Even if you get 50 million or double what is the current, it won't. But if you organize resources through the budgeting process, then you'll gradually be able to achieve this. Let me give an example. The Education Department of the County Assembly has an annual budgetary allocation. We have the CIDP, which has targets over the 5 years. And the CIDP takes into account, for instance, the number of primary schools in the county. And the role of the MCA is to see that as much resources as possible in the general kitty are put in the ECD development, that these resources are distributed equitably across the county. There are annual plans to ensure that these resources are actually expended annually and incrementally over the 5 years. So that if the county governor, for instance, says he wants to do ECDs in a classroom in maybe all the primary schools over the 5 years, you know, then the role of the MCA changes from actually trying to use that 20 million to build classes in all the schools, do dispensaries, bursaries, and all that, to ensuring that money is actually spent where it's supposed to be at the county headquarters, and this will result into that process. I know it's not as straight as I am putting it, but still that is the priority for any MCA. And you can achieve actually a lot if there is streamlining and optimal use of resources at the national level, proper plans which are equitable and all that. And then what you'll be left to do with the Ward Development Fund is to just address 1-2 local issues for visibility and for your political project in the next campaign and all that. I'm saying that because over several years, the overheads of the county assemblies and the county executive have risen by almost half from 2013, 40% up. And that tells you a lot of money is going to administrative issues, not to the front end of service delivery and overtime. And maybe that is, the trend is that it's 40%, and that is, I think, quite high. There is a lot that can be done in ensuring that, because basically what happens is, at the county level and the national treasury where the money comes from, the systems are clear. But once the money hits the county revenue fund, it is not clear how the money goes to departments, how the money goes to sub-counties and to the ward level. that is determined sometimes by the county finance minister, sometimes by the county governor, and any other influential person here. You see? So if you streamline and plan those resources, and then MCAs are very clear about what should happen. If you tell me in my ward, I'll have 5 primary schools per year, then I'll follow that plan, because that is what is in the law. And at the end of the 5 years, you can actually demonstrate that county government funds, not the ward fund, has done 1, 2, 3, 4, and with the Ward Development Fund, which is actually, they call it Public Participation Fund. The communities come together and say, we want a borehole, we want this and that. That cannot be used to do mainstream service delivery at the ward level.
Yeah, Honorable Yugi, is that all it takes to reorganize the resources, like Conrad is saying?
Let me just add or enlighten a bit on that issue. It is true we have the budget, the Ward Development Fund. It's not a formal fund, but it's sort of an agreement that you come with in the Assembly and the Executive. And we have the Executive Wing budget where they do different kind of development. The major challenge we have here is that the priority of the department might not be the priority of the ward. If you take, for example, in terms of health, you might have the Department of Health wanting to concentrate most of its money on the referral, the major hospital in the county, right? So if you're depending on this health budget from the executive to come to your ward level to do for you dispensaries or other things, it might not be very visible. So you might wait forever. So the 20 million you have to spread it. You have to spread it thin. In terms of education, if you do not put your ECDs in the Ward Development Fund and you hopefully lobby for the executive to put for you an ECD in their budget, there's no guarantee this is going to happen. As much as you might want it to happen, and it's a very good idea if they could take up some of the project so that your Ward Development budget is not as spread thin. It really, from my experience, it's a very tall order. You have 30, like in Siaya County, we have 30 wards, all of them competing to get at least something from the executive, in addition to what you have in your Ward Development Fund. So you might end up in 5 years getting very little, because the executive budget really does major projects that are cut across the county. So most of their budget would not go to the level of the ward per se. As much as the project will be in the ward, it might not be, the impact might not be felt that the MCA did. For example, a stadium will be across board the county. So a department might put all their money there, yet you are looking at this department to do something in your ward. So it becomes very difficult. All in all, the important thing is to also lobby. As Conrad says, you lobby to the executive that you do at least a project, then it would lessen the budget on your Ward Development Fund.
Yeah. Gade, we're talking about the challenges that you will meet, and I'll come to hear what Conrad has to say based on what Honorable Yugi has just said, that sometimes the priority of department is not the priority of the ward. But how would you deal with that challenge? Because for you, this is something you're going to face.
Yeah, one thing is that the same thing we are talking about is the conflict of interest between maybe the priorities and what forces or the force which makes maybe an elected MCA keep pushing is what you promise to our people. But now you'll find that what you promise to our people is different from what the executive maybe want to start with. But in our case, I think when you get there, we shall try to see issues. Instead of bringing so many issues at once, maybe we can look at the priorities which you can do in my own area, and then now you articulate them very clearly so that you can at least have something done. Because it will be very bad if you try to bring all maybe the five agendas at the same time. But if you prioritize, maybe the small amount you get, because 20 million is still little money, maybe you can do 1 or 2 things which will be there for you to be remembered when it comes to next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conrad, there's a very important issue that Oyugi has raised. Sometimes the priority of the department is not the priority of the ward. Therefore, it brings some level of conflict of interest. Mm-hmm. Is this where now the rubber really meets the road, that there needs to be some level of streamlining so that everybody knows this is the direction we're taking, and who should be the lead on that direction? Because every department has their own head, the governor has their own priorities, the MCA has their own priority from different wards. How then do we ensure that there's an amalgamated form and synergy of energy to head in the right direction?
Thank you. I think that's a very good question and the dilemma that faces a lot of the county governments. But I think there is a solution. You know, Honorable Yugi is talking about building ECD classrooms and that being the ward priority. There is no way that building ECD classrooms cannot be a priority of the county department. Because even when a rational plan by a governor, they say by 5 years through the CIDP, I would have done so many classrooms. It is up to, I think, the county assemblies, because they have to, the governors to table this CIDP before the county assembly. It is up to them to look at it and see that there is equitable distribution of the plans over the 5 years. We have so many schools, and which schools are going to benefit, which period, and all this, what is the pace, and have counties, have all the wards been represented in that. I think that is the first priority. Then, because the resources are not adequate, and I agree there are other priorities for the department, maybe employing teachers, because the teachers are paid from the county treasury, maybe employing other administrators on ECD matters, and the spreading thin of the budget at the county level. Once you have that streamlined and ensure ward priorities collectively are put in place, then the MCA is very clear in his or her mind that with the remaining resources and with the priorities of the national, of the county government in my ward, 1, 2, 3, 4 is the areas I'm going to supplement. And as my fellow panelist here said, is you don't do a half-done project that leaves people dissatisfied. You do 1, 2, 3, 4 impactful projects. And then also what I realized works is when the MCA actually does this in consultation with the ward, and they agree we have 5 years ahead, these are the number of resources, we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 in all corners of the ward in the 5 years. And so I think it's still achievable, but the number one priority, it may look like, well, I want at least have control with my ward development fund, but I think the number one priority is having the resources at the county headquarters spent in the right way. Because what happens, as I said earlier, the resources hit the county revenue fund. And from there you find it is suppliers prioritized from the office of the county governor. You find it's pet projects for influential people at the county headquarters. And I think with time, that is what an effective county assembly can arrest and ensure that, first of all, the bulk of resources are planned in an equitable way that benefits most of the people in most of the wards. Then the reserve can be used to do 1, 2, 3, 4, where the resources of the county cannot reach. And it's possible, even with the ward development fund, to have a 5-year plan consultation with your ward, so that they agree, this year we are doing this, next year we are doing that, and you can actually co-implement it with your electorate. So I know it's a complex process, because at the county level you have the governor, you have influential people, but working together as MCAs and saying we either do this together as a county assembly or we exit at the next ballot, then they hold those resources, they hold, because even if the education department says that they have priorities which are different from the ward, how can those be different from what the county assembly has approved in the plans? And we are talking about oversight again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honorable Yugi, I'll come to you right after this break so that we talk about that coordination that Conrad is talking about shortly. But let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're taking a pulse of what's going on at the Supreme Court also. Then also some of your feedback that's coming through at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Kenya's Choice 2022. We're back in a bit.